Hi, my name is Steve Snapp, and thank you for joining us for this episode of Salesforce for Building Materials. In this episode, we're going to go into detail of this concept that we call project. Now, we always like to start a video by talking about what is the main problem we're trying to solve. So the problem we were trying to solve when we created the project screen in Salesforce was how do we consolidate all of the information associated with a project and use it to not only drive your pipeline, but also to identify risks such as you've got specified, but a contractor may not want to award the project to you. How do you manage all of those details as well as managing the key metrics around the relationships that you're working with? Before we get started, I want to mention that we have 2 links in the video description you should know about. I'll mention these again at the end of the video if you'd like to keep watching, but I wanted you to know that we've included a link to our pricing video where we share the pricing for Salesforce Construction, and we've also included a link to our guided free trial. The guided free trial will allow you to start using Salesforce Construction immediately in your business while providing a step-by-step learning path. So in this video, I'm going to talk about this thing called a project, and in another video, I'm going to talk about the details associated with what we call project relationships. So here I am on the dashboard, and you'll notice we've got several videos that talk about the metrics within Salesforce for Building Materials. What I'll mention here simply is that you'll notice that there are metrics associated with these projects. And from these projects, I can drill down into the project record. So rather than do that from the dashboard, for time's sake, I'll just click on the project tab here. But I'll click into and show you some of the details associated with a project. Now, I mentioned there's 2 videos here. I'm going to talk here about the project details that you see on the project screen. But over on the right-hand side, you'll see it, this concept that we call project relationships, which I'll expand on in a following video where I'll go into detail on how we measure this. So the big idea here is on the project screen, this is where we capture the key details associated with a project. Now I'm going to go ahead and click the edit option here so that I can see all the fields associated with the project. Now I won't go through all these fields, but I'll mention that there's a type field where you can capture the type of project this is. There's a stage field where you can capture what stage are we in the project process. So these stages here are our standard list, but these can obviously be modified. But the purpose here is to sort of define where in the project cycle am I, combined with a status field, which is this an open project? Did we close, win it, close, lost, etc. Now there's a lot of other fields here that I won't go into detail, but the point I'll make here is that in addition to our standard fields, you can also add any pick lists or additional text fields that enable you to define the project in more detail. Now, I'll end on this screen by saying that the bottom section is where we manage the specification. So this is where we capture what kind of specification do we have? Are we basis of design? Are competitors specified? This begins to form that picture in your pipeline of what opportunities do I have and which opportunities are, let's call them, less risk or more solid, and which ones are higher risk. So when I talked about that dashboard a moment ago, and I'll just click back over there for a second, the dashboard is driven by the information that's captured in that project record. So the projects by type, this thing we call specification percentage, which I go into much more detail in another video, things around the award percentage, etc. All of that information comes out of that project record and comes out of the project relationships associated with that record. So I will go into much more detail on project specification and award percentage in the project relationship video. But what I wanted to leave you with for this video is just the final comment, which is the project in Salesforce for Building Materials is the hub. It's the center point from which other things get hung off of. We hang the quote off of it. We hang the project relationships off of it. We hang orders off of it. We hang on any specifications or production drawings or anything related to engineering, if that applies in your business, any workflow associated with getting this estimated or specified or having pre-engineering done, etc. All of that's done off of this concept that we call project. So in your case, what we've shown here might work fine. There might be additional things that you need to add to kind of address your workflow. But the point is, rather than using generic Salesforce, which has a lead and an opportunity and that needs to all be tailored, we've eliminated that and we simply have what we call the project, and that's the center point for where everything happens. The final thing I'll say after talking about these related lists, that's what, when I said earlier about things hanging off of the project, what I was referring to as a related list. Directly below that, we have this, what we call the final, sort of the activity panel, where we capture upcoming activities, phone calls, etc., as well as potential chatter. And this activity panel enables us to do the final metric, which is what we call activity status, which is where we can track, is this project being connected with and touched on a routine basis. So when a project is neglected, that means that there's activity that hasn't been done on certain frequency, 30, 60, 90 days, whatever. So the idea is that in addition to managing your risk associated with your specification, you can also manage your risk associated with, are we maintaining activity on these projects? So again, this was meant to be an overview, so I won't go into much more detail on those things. But in our dashboard videos, as well as another video on project relationships, you can begin to see how these pieces work together. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me. I know your time is very limited. I've included 2 possible next steps in the video description. These include a link to our pricing video where we share the pricing for Salesforce Construction, and I've also included a link to our guided free trial. The guided free trial will allow you to start using Salesforce Construction immediately in your business while providing a step-by-step learning path. The guided free trial also introduces what we call the Guaranteed Quick Start, which is several pre-scheduled calls with our team to help make any light configuration changes like pick lists or reports, and also help you migrate any data that you want in your free trial. If you're not ready for those 2 choices, please spend some time here on our YouTube channel learning more about the specific problems we've solved for Salesforce Construction. Thank you again for some of your time, and we'll see you soon.